Hammer Tech Talks is a chance for you to join me as we dig into the world of construction pros to find out what makes them tick and helps them succeed. This series will open the door to an industry that we're passionate about and showcase the amazing people and ideas that are the infrastructure to building great things. Construction folk love a story and a laugh, so we're going to have some fun. And you'll take away new perspectives to improve your operations and help create the next normal in construction. For those of you who don't know us, we're Hammer Tech. We're a cloud-based performance and productivity platform ensuring safety, quality, and operational efficiency. Let's get into it. So today we're joined by CEO of Western Allied Mechanical, Angie Simon. Morning, Angie.
Good morning. How are you?
Very good.
Thank you.
So Angie is a celebrated figure in construction and has led the design and build mechanical contractor to success over the past couple of decades. So Angie, you've led growth. I believe you're now 250 and going strong. We've gone through economic downturns as well as a number of operational and digital transformation initiatives. Angie is also the president of the National Trade Association, SMACNA. So for those who didn't know the acronym, it's the Sheet Metal and Air Conditioning National Association. And so this rounded experience of leading a general contractor and an intimate understanding of material and labour suppliers and subcontractors is a point of view that's not often given a significant voice at the table when it comes to technology and safety operations. And so that's what we're going to explore a little bit more about today. Because the impact we found of these decisions relating to technology and safety does acutely affect the people and businesses at this scale. And so we at Hammer Tech are increasingly working with the mid-major and subcontractors who are looking for means to modernise their businesses and in turn create a competitive advantage. And so their point of view we found is unique, and it's a minefield of opportunity when it comes to learning from their business models and innovating with them. So Angie, I'm really excited to explore some of these things with you today.
Yes, really excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
No worries. And so you're dialing in from, we're up in the San Francisco Bay Area?
Yes, we're in Menlo Park, California.
Nice. Quite a bit of change in that area over the past couple of decades.
Yes, we have grown. We're a mechanical contractor, and we started out as someone. At the time I think I started here, we probably had about 70 people that worked for us total, including our union tradespeople, and now we're up to 250, actually closer to 300 people right now. So we
Awesome.
have grown, and we know we have experienced the small to the larger size.
That's fantastic. So the first piece I'd love to touch on is something I think that's really pertinent, particularly over the last 6 months, where many businesses are looking to invest in digital technology and software. Is as a sort of a smaller business, how do you balance your business's needs sort of now and in the long term with the demands of bigger general contractors and owners that you work with?
There's a balance there. I think about that. For example, BIM implementation, and BIM is now is kind of an expected thing. It's no longer special. It's more of a requirement on most projects. But for a long time, the bigger GCs and the bigger mechanicals were doing BIM. Everything was coordinated in BIM, and we, as a middle road, it was a big cost step to take the jump from the way that you were detailing before to do it digitally. And I know we pushed back a little bit. We finally brought one person on, and we started having them do it. But there was a point where you're going to have to. If you do not take the next step, then the industry is going to leave you behind. And so we finally got to a point where we were ready to say, okay, we really do need to embrace this. And once we've embraced it and we've gotten so good at it, I kind of wonder why it took us so long to get there. That kind of feels like that happens a lot with technology, but by the time you start using it, you realize, wow, I wish I would have done this 10 years ago. But the GCs were pushing us to that point, and the owners were pushing us to that point. And I think there's always that fine line, and that's where I think a smaller contractor has a little bit of a challenge, because you don't always know where, they're expensive, a lot of these things, and a lot of our GCs are using things. We work with 30 GCs, 40 GCs, and of all different sizes. So some are going to push one platform, some are going to push another. Sometimes I think you just need to pick what's right for your company and go that direction.
And how did you seek advice to determine what was right? What changed? Because I think that taking the step to adopt BIM would have been a really big shift for the business back then.
Yeah, the best step for us was at one point we finally hired an operations manager who had some pretty good construction experience, and we sat down with them and said, okay, listen, our pocketbook is not open 100%. You can't have everything, but where do we need to go? What is our next step? And bringing somebody in that has that idea of technology and where we need to go with technology helps, or somebody that's seen it on the larger side and say, okay, well, this worked well, but it's really expensive, so maybe we should take you to this platform. Um, but it is a challenge. I mean, I will say that one of the things with on my national SMACNA hat, we have set up a technology committee just recently because we do feel that it's really a challenge for a small contractor to vet through all the different type of technologies that you have, from safety technology to productivity technology to your shop technology of what you should be using in your shop and how, and even video technology and Windows 365, any of that type. So the technology committee is trying to give our contractors a leg up on the middle-sized, lower-sized contractors, leg up on the pros and cons of the different software and technologies. But it definitely, you need to find what works for you, and then you need to not be afraid to keep trying something new, though. That's the one thing that's important, I think.
Awesome. And so when you've been implementing new technology, what was your strategy to help the adoption and I guess that seamless transition? And could you tell us maybe about one or two hurdles and how you overcame them?
Sure. I think we've learned. So now what we say is, if we want to look at, so for example, we recently did look at project management software. Okay, we want to find a good platform to do project management software. We had thought maybe our accounting software has a module, but we finally it never was working for us. So we said, we got to go look. So we put a team together with my operations manager, but a group of my 30 somethings, 20 to 30 somethings, and my operations manager, so that we had the younger next generation there too. And that team was our focus team, and they went out and looked at the different types of products that were available, and they vetted it to the point where they came up with 3 recommendations. One, their number one, but they never looked at cost. They rated them for what they'd like, and then they put cost next to them. And so then we met as a management group and said, okay, let's discuss this. So then once we picked a platform, I think the number one key is it's got to be supported at the top. The management has to not just say go; they have to walk the walk, and they need to be behind that product, and they need to push it out and agree with it. So then at that point, we also need champions. And so my operations manager is my champion. He's got a team of that. He has to get some implementers that are behind it as well. So he has to roll out the why to my field folks, for example, to say, this is why we're using it, show them that. And generally we try to find 5 or 10 of people that we find are early implementers, and we have them out, like particularly out in the field, go help other people in the field. And then you start to see that. Otherwise, if you don't have that champion, you're not going to have anybody. It's going to fall on the wayside. And then the last one would be, we really do celebrate the successes. I mean, we try to say, okay, let's take the little steps, and when we accomplish that, everybody posted, everybody checked in. We currently are using our project manager software to also do our screening and check-ins for COVID. So now we celebrate it when everybody used that platform that one day to check in. Hey, okay, at least we're using the platform. So those are kind of my keys as a management champion, and then celebrate when you've made some steps. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so you started touching on some of your new safety protocols that you've got in place at the moment. I'm imagining as a contractor going and working on larger contractors' sites, sometimes there would be a difference in the way that you practice safety. I think a lot of the time you'd expect the larger contractor to have more robust safety standards, that align with industry best practices. But what happens when there's a misalignment, and how do you go about creating that alignment to keep your teams safe and protect your business reputation?
Well, we definitely see that a lot. Like I said, we work for 20 or 30 general contractors, and of all sizes. And it's interesting because you would think it's going to be the big ones are always going to have the best safety and the small ones won't. And sometimes it's not that way. There's some bigger contractors that aren't focusing on safety. So we kind of ignored what our generals say initially and say, we Western Ally have to set our own safety priorities. And to us, and it starts again at the top, safety is number one for us, priority. And so we set our priorities. We basically make it clear what we expect as a safety rules. Everybody's OSHA 30 trained. We basically set our rules, and we have our practices. And we also have, for example, cards. We have cards we've given all of our guys that say, this is you have every right. Here's your card. You can hand it to a general contractor. If you don't feel safe on that job site, you're going to hand it to them, and you can leave the job site. And you'll call your safety director, and we'll go out and talk to the general contractor. But if they're not doing what we think is safe, then immediately my employees, with no doubt at all, will back them 100%, have every right to walk off. So I do think a lot of focus on safety and making sure that it's right. Now, different generals have different safety protocols as well, and different safety programs. So there is always a challenge of, okay, it's this one's using that program and this one's using that program. But again, it's really the culture that you really need to have out there. And I think we've done a good job. I will also willing to share that culture. For example, in the COVID situation, we were very, very early adopters. We had a protocol set in place very early about all the rules that we wanted to have on the job site but to keep our employees safe. And for the general contractors, a lot of them were not that ahead of it that much. So a couple times we said, would you like our written protocol? You could have that, and we'll give it to you in Word. If you'd like to modify it and put your name on it, that's fine too. But this is our written protocol. And for example, we said we wanted to screen all of our employees with temperature and fill out the form. And then we gave them bands that we basically said, if you've been screened, you're wearing a band, so that when on this job site, we know that you've been screened. And in the office, same thing. And some of our general contractors thought that was a neat idea. So now all of a sudden, the general contractors are all using bands as well, which I think is great, because at least you can tell they've been screened and they should be on the job site. So we're happy to share.
That's fantastic. I think that that generosity and the approach of not needing to reinvent the wheel, particularly when it comes to safety, is a really valuable approach, and we're really hoping to see a lot more of that moving forward. I think some people see safety as a sort of competitive advantage, and really it's not about that. It's for us anyway, it's really about a core value. It's just like, this is just the way that we operate. So your efforts to sort of bring everyone up with you is really commendable.
It's about everybody getting home safe at night. That's what it's about. And I know I've had an experience early on in my career where one of our subcontractors had an accident, and he was insulating a duct riser. He fell, and he was killed. And I went to the funeral, and I came back from that, and I said to my guys, I never, ever, ever want to go to a funeral. You need to go home at night and be safe. I don't care what it takes. If you have to slow down, and if you don't have to, I don't care. But this is not, you need to be able to come home at night. So it really is our number one. I mean, we do great work, but the key is I want everybody to be able to go home at night. So important.
Something else we touched on when we caught up before the recording of this episode is one of the initiatives that SMACNA is starting to look at, which aligns with a major issue in our industry around mental health and the tragic suicide rate that we have in construction. And I wondered, I always like to sort of, when we talk about an issue, I always like to bring solutions to the table, and sort of like, how can we as an industry work on this? So I'd love for you to share a little bit about how SMACNA is hoping to help the industry in this space.
Yeah, it's a huge part of our safety program too, because mental health and substance abuse are both very, very common in construction. I think they had said that out of all the industries, construction is a leader, and that's not where you want to be a leader in mental health problems and suicides. Mm-hmm. And the problem is it's a subject that people don't necessarily want to talk about. It's hard. Mental health is very uncomfortable to talk about, and also a lot of us don't know have the education on how to deal with it. So I think that's one of the things so our sheet metal union has been extremely active in that, and they also have started. They've started a program where they have like 3-day seminars, and they're teaching their business agents and their business managers and anybody else and their apprentice teachers how to recognize and what the signs of somebody who might need some mental health addition or substance abuse. And so they started that. So then SMACNA said, well, we actually early on joined in 2018, joined the Construction Industry Alliance for Suicide Prevention. We were one of the first ones to join that, and our safety director is a member of that board. And but now we are developing a suicide, addiction, and mental health chapter education program based on the topics that our union is also working on. So trying to understand what the issues are, recognizing the signs, what you do when you recognize the signs, and how you can help those people and that are having that. And I think the reason we brought it up is because I have a deep concern that I think it's going to be even worse with, I was saying here in our office, we're just starting to come back slowly from COVID. We're bringing people back in groups, but we've asked our field technicians and our field workers to go back to the job sites since the 1st of May. And they've been working in the job sites fully covered with PPE and worried about getting exposed to COVID. And so besides just worrying about safety period, they need to worry about that as well. So I do worry and of the fact that this is not a good time right now. We need to be aware of this, and we need to figure out ways to help people out if we can.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I heard from reading or listening to another interview that we're huggers, and so not being able to do that and say hello to people is just, obviously construction safety is a very different part of it, but it's that contact and that isolation at the moment is really having a major impact on people's ability to do their best, do their best work. And I did want to ask you, there was something really interesting that you mentioned before, which is about the sort of the drop-off that happens in productivity after a period of time of working remotely, and what you're looking to do to overcome that from an office point of view.
Well, so in our office and in our company, we have worked so hard the last 5 years on culture. And, what is our company culture? We really do a lot to try to appreciate employees. We have 3 DNA standards, we call it, and they are driven by innovation, because we are very excited about that, grounded in care, and dedicated to teamwork. But grounded in care, I mean, that's important to us. That's one of our DNA that we have. But how do you do like grounded? How do you share this when you can't be together? And I'm starting to struggle with the fact, how am I going to get my culture back when everybody's working remotely? So that's part of the reason we were trying to push to have people start to come back. I am very a fan of being flexible and allowing flexibility, but there is a lot of, we was talking about it was a Wall Street Journal article recently that was read about how they track productivity when somebody went to go work remotely 100%, and how in the beginning, the productivity actually increases. I mean, because of the fact that, for one, I think they work more hours. They're probably working at nights and on the weekends, some, because work and home kind of get mixed together. So their productivity increases, but there's a point about 8 to 9 months in where you start to see a real dip, because I think they start to see the isolation side of that, and the less people, the less drive for the productivity. So, I mean, I think there's got to be a mix that can work with most. And I think I had a hard time saying I'm asking my field to go out in the field and work every day in the field, and then, but not saying that we need to be in the office once in a while. So plus we have a lot of young people, and I really think, how do you teach people to be supervisors? How do you teach young people if you don't have the people there every day? So it's a fine line. We need to be careful, take it slow, but we also need to realize that people, everybody has their own situation right now. So we're being very open. If somebody's got a health issue or a family issue, I think we're okay with that. But I think those that have kids at home that they're having to homeschool, I think they want to come back to work. So.
We have a few of those, and I definitely think there's a few people that are looking to either that or some free babysitting or something like that.
Yes, exactly.
And so one of the questions that I always love to ask our guests is, so we're doing our part to try and debunk stereotypes around people that work in construction, and the types of roles, open up people's minds to the types of roles that are available. So I wondered, what's a piece of advice that you would give to someone, or give to future leaders of construction businesses?
In regards to
debunking? No, just so you're an example of a stereotype that's being debunked as someone who has led a construction business. So looking to encourage, whether it's women or minorities, or just the next generation of construction folk coming through, what's a piece of advice that you'd give them to sort of, I guess, want to make them also lead their own general contracting business one day?
Well, I'm really excited for a few things. For one, I love our industry. I think it's a fun, dynamic industry. We build things. You actually get to see what we build, and there is not one day that's the same as another in this industry. So we constantly have some challenge. It's fun. I mean, I see that, but I also am excited about our next 10 years from now because I will say our millennials who my kids are. I think one of my kids is a millennial. The other one's the one after that, but they're very inclusive. They're way more inclusive than us baby boomers ever were, and that generation means that I don't think they're going to see that it's you're white or you're black or you're Hispanic or you're a woman or you're gay. They're not going to see that. It's not going to matter because they're inclusive and they accept everybody. And I really do. I mean, I'm a baby boomer. I'm on the edge of the baby boomers, but I'm a baby boomer. But once we start to retire because we don't accept change as well, I think we're going to see a lot of change within our industry, and I think it's going to be good for our industry. Our industry, construction industry, is looking for people right now. We're probably 30% short of workers, and in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to retire 60% of the people in the industry. We're already 30% short, and we're going to retire 60% of the industry, and the industry is supposed to grow. So there's a lot of opportunity for people out there, and we need to tap some untapped resources. And women are definitely it. There's not very many women in the industry. It's a very white industry. We need to be more diverse. So I'm excited about that, and I hope that that's going to happen. And I think sometimes if you're a company that is interested in making some changes and seeing that, then you need to focus on that. For example, find a woman in your industry, then fast track her. Give her the help and the support and give her some extra training so that she can move up, because she's going to be capable of doing it too. But for a women to want to advance, they kind of need to see other women in those positions, and it really helps. In our company, because we had a woman president, now a woman CEO, we're about 35% women in our technical positions. So it's way higher than most. And I could be even higher than that right now. I'm not sure the last few hires we've had. So um, sometimes I think you need to see somebody in those positions to actually have some luck. But I do truly believe that in the next 10 years, it's going to change a lot, because our next generation is going to they probably work remotely a little more, but they're also going to be more inclusive. So.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights, Angie. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you. It was great.
We really look forward to sharing this with our with our audience. So we'll keep in touch and
Okay.
speak to you very soon.
Thank you very much.